Like a person with athletic aptitude might be training for a marathon. I'm training for this. Last video, I asked you to send me your favorite houses from movies and TV. And then I would guess what style those houses were. And what I thought would be a casual 20 suggestions became a spreadsheet with 346 rows. But there are repeats, so there's 231 buildings on here. Now I could have chosen from that spreadsheet based on how many times it was submitted or how popular it is, what you guys might actually click on. But where's the randomness? Where's the whimsy? So instead, I made the biggest wheel you've ever seen. And now we're gonna get spinning. I'm nervous. It's as if I could read anything on here. The Long Goodbye. The Long Goodbye, Mouse Hunt, Moonstruck, Tar, Practical Magic. A collection so impressive it would make the Criterion mobile closet break down under its cinematic heft. So I gave myself 1 hour to identify the iconic buildings in all these movies. And no, I didn't skip to the part where the house shows up. I just patiently watched a movie until I saw the house that I think you guys were talking about in your comments. If you think that's an inefficient way to hit a timing related goal, you'd be correct.
Remember everyone?
Oh, that was so not what I wanted to come out of that box. Now let's begin with one of the most complicated apartment structures I've ever seen. We're in Hollywood. Tells me more than you'd think. Sleep in. In what building? A cat. It's a fun cat. What a well-trained cat. I hope this cat gets fed. Ooh, look at this kitchen. This is the best cat I've ever seen in a movie. These windows are awesome. Cool balcony setup. Oh, there's nudity. So we know we're in Los Angeles. I'm not very good with Los Angeles architecture. Interesting. Okay, so there's a cool bridge. Oh, this is an elevator. What an interesting building. Apartment building up above, clearly on a hillside, because there's like a bridge between places. Okay, I never properly explain what is up with this building. As far as I can tell, there is the apartments behind. The elevator tower is technically a community building, whereas the actual buildings behind is his real apartment. But I didn't know that when I watched it. I just assumed it was the same building, and then over time was like, I think these are two separate things. They were two separate things. I know I only saw the building quickly. I'm gonna grab a couple books. Okay. The elevator is what's making me think it could be like Mission. There's this popular style, Mission style, very popular in California. This looks like very different than what I traditionally would think of, but it's an apartment complex, but there's stucco. There can be more modern shapes. And the elevator, the shaping of the elevator makes me think of it. Let's see if we get a better look. Also, the way it's set up feels like it could be multiple styles. I feel like I missed my chance to see that there.
Just as soon as I get me a smoke.
Does that mean we're going outside again? No, he's gonna smoke inside.
Right, here you are.
Oh, okay. We're gonna pause. This is dark as hell. I'm assuming this is his apartment. These are the ladies' apartment on the other side. That is the elevator type thing. This is a crazy building. It's interesting because the curves looks much more modern, but parts of that tower, the tower with the doors, I don't know, made me think Mission. But now that I'm looking at it, it looks much more modern. I don't know, you guys. I'm gonna say international style. No way. Also, Mission often has these towers. Again, I think it's like a combo pack that I've never even seen before. Okay, now to reveal if I was right or wrong. My first guess, a Mission revival built between 1910 and now 1920 for the tower part. Now that I'm seeing it in the daylight, actually close up, I'm feeling kind of good about my Mission style guess. But the real clue was that this film is set in California, and the Mission revival style was extremely popular from 1890 to 1915 for houses, but also schools and railroad stations. The Santa Fe and Southern Pacific Railways made this their depot style across the board, so you see it a lot. The thing that made me think Mission Revival at the very beginning was seeing the shape above the elevator door that looks so much like the outlines on parapets that you see on Mission Revivals. It's also got a red tile roof, and there's like an etched quatrefoil-esque window on the top that you can see in a lot of Mission Revival buildings. So is that right? Let's check this Popular Mechanics magazine from 1924, which talked about this tower and elevator and described how it was made. Rising like the tower of a Spanish mission from a hillside in Hollywood, California, a unique community elevator which residents have built to solve the problem of getting to their homes. I'm going to take that Spanish mission as fact, and I'm glad me and some Popular Mechanics can agree on this. The article goes on to explain more things about this tower that I think are interesting. Maybe you will. The tower, surmounted by an artistic cupola, rises from a practically level street to a height of about 100 feet. About 1/3 of it is located in a concrete shaft within the hill. The elevator itself is reached through a foot tunnel cut in the solid rock. It's electrically operated and controlled with a push button by the user. An auxiliary shaft enclosing a steel ladder and a separate stairway have been built for use in emergencies. At the base, 22 garages have been constructed in the side of the hill, where the owners leave their cars before ascending to their homes. The elevator cost approximately $50,000. But despite me paying so much attention to this elevator, that's not where the cool guy with the picky cat lives. And knowing this is a community elevator helps explain why this apartment style and the elevator style are so different. Now, as you could maybe tell from my doubts and just saying modern and international a bunch of times, this is a time period where I have to research a lot to know anything. So in my guess, I said 1940. I'm going to say it was built in 1910 to 1920. That's maybe 1940. I don't know. The apartments behind the high tower elevator are known as High Tower Court. It was built by Karl Kay, who was an Armenian immigrant architect who lived and raised his family in one of the buildings and rented the rest out as apartments. The style was streamlined modern, and they were built in 1935. And the thing that should have tipped me off, but didn't, was the curving balconies. This book I just got, called Depression Modern, the 30s Style in America, has this line about those curves on the balcony, or at least curves like it. The world of the 1930s was especially fond of a particular line, a curved line, reoccurring again and again, a line with a sharp parabolic curve at the end, which it called the streamline. And it was the streamline which contemporary designers considered the characteristic rhythm of the age. Streamlining, of course, had begun with the modern world's love of high speed. It was an attempt to increase the speed of moving mechanical objects by removing as many wind-deflecting obstacles as possible. Designers, having studied and observed the sleek ovoid bodies of the porpoise and the unbroken surface of the teardrop, the first airplanes, trains, and automobiles had been vertical box-like affairs. By 1933, however, the modern streamlined ideal was the ovoid gliding form and the smooth, continuous, unbroken surface of gleaming steel bodies. And this book also has a really funny joke in it, that it became kind of a marketing term. Streamlining ultimately became the vogue and a way of marketing items which were never designed with speed in mind. Furniture and clothing, clocks and typewriters, electric irons and toasters, even false teeth and coffins were hawked to Depression consumers as streamlined, even though, with the possible exception of coffins, none was designed to transport its owner anywhere at any speed. And ideally, that balcony is also not going to be transporting anyone. So you're about to find out that I'm kind of a generous grader. Yes, I was right about the Mission Revival elevator tower. Less right about the Streamline Modern. But I'm still happy with the results. Okay, I feel like I've officially been stumped. Moving on, next one. That's my guess though. A bit of a combination of a bunch of things. Next up, Mouse Hunt. A movie I somehow had never seen. So far, we are at the 14-minute mark. And for some reason, I watched the entire DreamWorks sequence, even though time is of the essence. What I didn't know was this movie is so good and funny.
It's the grayest black I've ever seen.
It doesn't matter what color it is. Ah!
What is this movie?
I'm sorry.
Oh my God. The cover made me think this would be completely different and fully about a mouse.
Look, if you find any real estate on that desk, you let me know.
Well, it seems there is also a house.
A A house?
A house?
5120 Nortondale. He never lived there, but it's interesting.
Ooh,
It
okay.
seems the previous owner was found locked in a trunk in the attic.
When do we get to see this house? It looks like there was an eyebrow window, very pointy. So even from a low quality black and white photo, I'm calling out the eyebrow window dormer because there aren't that many styles of houses that have them. Again, I had not seen this movie, so I was so surprised when the entire film is pretty much about an old house, floor plans, and a famous fake architect. Oh my God. Is this the perfect movie? I don't know. The mouse. Floor plans.
Wow. Wait a minute, look at this date. 1876.
Okay.
Centennial house could actually be worth something. Look, this must be the architect. Here, look.
We're at the Historic Society. Now that all would be a lovely amount of information if any of it was real. The architect isn't real, the floor plans are just beautiful drawings. And the date is made up, as is the house. It was built solely for the film near Bass Lake in the Yosemite area. But even if it was fake and built for the filming, I think I had the inspiration right. Eyebrow window dormer. The curve of the things. 1876, it's clearly like, I don't know, Victorian-ish, but my book fell apart. Ain't that just the way it is? I mean, honestly, my first instinct would be it's a Queen Anne, but it doesn't really look like one, kind of at all. In case you were wondering, Victorian can encompass multiple styles. Shingle and Queen Anne are underneath the Victorian umbrella and overlap time periods. 1880 to 1910 for the Queen Anne, 1880 to 1900 for shingle. The differences are stylistic, regional, and other stuff. Queen Anne's and other Victorian styles are often a bit over the top with their shape, but also their detailing, with flourishes on every porch and gable. Shingle style, on the other hand, is containing that complex Victorian shape, but putting it within a more simple shingle exterior. They often have this seamless look. It almost looks like shingle style. Shingle's not the worst idea. Yes, okay. I'm committing to shingle style. Because of the rounded things, the eyebrow dormer. This is crazy for me to look at a night shot and be like, yeah, it's gotta be. So do I believe what I said then? Yeah. This side profile photo, which I found during my research, is what really sold me afterwards that I was right to call it shingle style. Look how similar this side profile looks to one of the most famous shingle styles, the Isaac Bell House in Newport, Rhode Island. It was one of the first commissions by McKim, Mead, and White, who became one of the most famous architecture firms in the country. It almost makes a good connection to the movie, where this house was one of the Charles Lyell LaRue missing masterpiece buildings.
It's bold yet subtle, classical yet non-traditional. The missing LaRue.
Next up, we're watching Moonstruck. At this point, I have watched the first 30 minutes of Mouse Hunt. By the time I watch Moonstruck, the clock has hit 42:16. And I've seen this movie before. That must mean I'm going to skip to the house in Moonstruck. Nope. I do not like being rushed, and I fear no timeline, so I just watched the film. I love this movie. I've seen it a million times. Cher, the moon, Nicolas Cage, the Twin Towers, Lincoln Center. Oh, New York and Cher in a scarf, not getting hit by a truck. As good as it ever gets. Luckily, Moonstruck shows mercy, and it only takes 14 minutes for the house to show up. After Cher had a full day as an accountant, went on a date at a restaurant, drove her fiance to the airport. We're driving. That makes me worry we're not going to see her house. And honestly, I didn't really even need to see this house. I already knew. I think we're about to see a night shot of the house. Oh, will we get another outside shot? Because I can do it with this. I think I gotta take this as a win. Okay, I think it's a Second Empire. You can see the roof just barely, but it goes in. It's beautiful. Like a Yeah, like a townhouse Second Empire. On the corner, lovely, lovely. Now this one feels like cheating because it has the most iconic roof, the mansard roof, which I have made numerous videos on. I have also seen this movie multiple times, and I am pretty sure I even saw a recent exterior photo of this house when it went on the market this year. And even though I felt so confident, there was something about the windows that had me questioning the whole thing. It's just very, very simple in terms of decor. Usually Second Empires, part of that Victorian umbrella I was talking about earlier, have more flourishes. But especially around the windows and the doors, this place feels pretty reserved and simple. But with a little bit of reading, it makes sense why. This house was built in 1829. That's decades before the Second Empire had its moment. So this was originally a more colonial style that was later transformed. And if you were going to renovate a house in the second half of the 1800s, it was often going to be turned into a Second Empire, especially for townhouses, as Virginia McAllister properly explains. Second Empire styling dominated urban housing in the decades between 1860 and 1880. The mansard roof was particularly adapted to townhouses, for it provided an upper floor behind the steep roofline, and thus made the structure appear less massive than most other styles with comparable interior space. So for the Moonstruck house, on one hand I was right, and on the other hand I was wrong. And I'm still gonna take that as a win. At this point, I am at the 59-minute mark. It is not looking good for identifying the rest of these, especially when, dun dun, I have to interact with a DVD. That's right, I got Tar from the library. If the house doesn't show up quickly in Tar, I'm screwed. I know this movie's long. All I had to do was get it to play. But did you know that a CD drive cannot use the dongle that I use because it doesn't give enough power to the CD drive, which is needed to suck up the DVD? We passed the hour mark with me just troubleshooting how DVDs and dongles work. That was not a good sign. Although I am sad and slightly defeated, I instead pivot to the last film, Practical Magic. We are at an hour and 2 minutes by the time the opening credits start. But this movie knows its audience, me, and also you. Within the first 3 minutes, you see a witch trial, a bug up to no good, and most importantly, one of my favorite houses. And like Moonstruck, this feels a bit like cheating because I have not only seen this house before, I have already made a video about it. One of my first videos on here was a little number where I didn't show my face, but I did pick my favorite witch houses in movies and TV. So my conclusion was, so I know that this was built for this, which means it's kind of a composite of a bunch of different house styles. The verge boards on the top there, like there's some Gothic revival-y elements. There's also, I mean, the roof is kind of like a mansard roof. I think on the side it kind of does something alternate though, but there's like kind of that tower. There's also another like lighthousey tower in the back. The wraparound porch is very Queen Anne. That cresting, the metal roof cresting is very Queen Anne. But again, the way that's that's very Second Empire, the roof. Let's see if there's some more footage of, oh, look at that porch. Oh, here we go. This is the shot. It's really, really beautiful, you guys. Yeah, it kind of feels like Gothic revival, Italianate, a lighthouse, and a Queen Anne had a baby. I'd be curious what you guys think. Really, there are just so many details to this house, and every detail can point to a different style. The finial and the pointy roofs feels Gothic revival. The decorative trusses remind me of the stick style. All the brackets feel kind of Italianate. The porch that wraps around looks Queen Anne. The section with a mansard roof and a tower, very Second Empire. All in all, I think this house is just a magical mix-up of all the romantic and Victorian style houses. All that makes sense because it isn't a real house. Is there more info that exists now that didn't when I originally talked about it 4 years ago? Can we find better information? Yes. Yes, we can. The set designer and the woman credited with this amazing house is Robin Standifer. And in this 1998 article in Victoria Magazine, which the amazing YouTuber Magazine Break flipped through about 3 months ago, we can actually see this article and interview with Robin and how she brought the Alice Hoffman book to the screen. I analyzed the descriptions of the stairways and the tangle of vines growing over the back door and decided it had to be Victorian, she explains. But it couldn't look haunted. It had to be clean and white, not fading and cobwebbed. The aunts never really age. Their magic keeps them young. What if they lived in a house that never really aged? That actually explains what feels so magical about this house. It's an old house, stylistically, that has never been forgotten. But this next sentence by the journalist might be the one that scares me and stumps me. The design, based on East Coast shingle style, evolved to include a lighthouse on top. Uh-oh. We've already talked about the shingle style, and it didn't really look like this. Now, this might make me seem petty, but since shingle style is lowercase, I'm actually choosing to believe that they just meant shingle style as in covered with shingles. There are some elements this house has in common, but the most classic versions of the shingle style feel so much wider, darker, and aware of classical details. Whereas this house feels so white, elaborate, detailed, and upright. Truly the saddest part about the Practical Magic house was it was torn down immediately after filming. And it turns out I am not the only person who finds that sad. In the movies, of course, magic is conscious. A house like that shown here is put together with sliding flats, artificial views, and sleight of hand. But that doesn't mean those who conjure such illusions avoid coming under their spell. I can't bear it when they strike the set, says Robin. I always leave before it's gone, because when the crew is finished, there won't be a single trace of what you've done. But it turns out Robin and Steven, who both worked on the Practical Magic House and numerous other movies from the 90s to the early 2000s, don't have to go through that loss of the set anymore. They transitioned from designers and architects on screen to designers and architects of houses, restaurants, hotels. They even have a store in New York City. And if you can believe this connection, the house in Gwyneth Paltrow's Architectural Digest video was designed by them. Okay, so I put in my final guess, a composite of every Victorian and romantic house. So let's check the time. I've guessed 4 houses and an elevator tower in 1 hour and 12 minutes. Is that the same as an hour? No, but it's kind of close. Did we miss tar? Yes. But if you all complain hard enough, I will figure out the problem and do a YouTube short about it. And if you're worried I won't finish Mouse Hunt or The Long Goodbye, I'm happy to report I have watched both of them in their entirety, because art should not be rushed, unless you have to rush it for a video. But then afterwards, you should unrush and enjoy it. Thank you all for watching all my videos this year. I have posted 13 videos in 2025. I work hard to keep to my once a month schedule. It's kind of silly, but here they all are, in case the YouTube algorithm has hidden them from you for an unknown reason. If you're curious more about the shingle style, I did a video on The Summer I Turned Pretty, which of course is like this much about The Summer I Turned Pretty and like majority about shingle style houses. Thank you to Kiki Crazed for editing this video. I will see you guys next year, and thank you for everything.